How big is your D&D party? 3 players? 4? 5? 10? Whether your group is big or small, nobody wants to feel left out, like their character doesn't really matter to the game and story. So here are a few ways you can make sure everyone feels like they get a chance to be the main character. And to help me out, I brought in James from DM with a Day Job. Very relatable. I'll let him explain his channel.
I am James from DM with a Day Job. Hi, I'm James, and on my channel I talk about all the things that I think about, plan and plot for my tabletop role-playing games.
Definitely check out his channel. We worked on another video together on his end that pairs very nicely with this one. But for now, let's get started. This first one is the most obvious, but is still worth saying. Some players are naturally going to be more shy than others. Whether they're new to the game or just not as outgoing, they may find it hard to feel heard when others in the group are more willing to toss themselves into the mix. So as the DM, you can just call on players who haven't gotten a turn to speak yet, or aren't contributing as much to a scene. For example, if your party is investigating a murder, don't just let one player make check after check after check. Once the first person decides to take initiative, ask other players what their character is up to while that's happening. And if a few people have already said how they want to contribute, call on others to see if they have anything to add before going back to those who already acted. And that still applies when the party chooses to split up. We all know rogues have a reputation for scouting ahead, while paladins and clerics in heavy armor might opt out of those stealth missions so they don't have to roll at disadvantage. But that doesn't mean only the sneaky members of the party can act. You can always cut back to whichever player stayed behind and add in something for them to interact with too. Wandering guards to eavesdrop on, roving skeletons scouring the dungeon, some kind of excitement that they can still interact with.
Then there is the dread of dread for anyone who is shy or new, the role-play scene. This player may have seen a live play and now they think that's all role-playing is. We need to expand their definition so that is just a flavor of role-playing. There's many ways to do this. And we do that by naming and praising the thing. Let's say that our player is a cleric that goes to their temple to get them to spend the gold, the resources, the spells to unpetrify their fighter friend. And this player is feeling very nervous about having the spotlight shined right on them. So we need to make it okay for this player to speak in the third person about what their character wants to do so they can come out of their shell and join in the role-playing scene. And we do that by prompting them, saying, what does your character think about the situation? Are you going to try to be persuasive, intimidate them? Are you going to lie to the clerics? Sum up your argument for me, and then I'm going to define a difficulty class based on what that character's argument is, and then I'm going to let them roll the appropriate skill or check. And then at the end of the session, I'm going to explicitly reward them for good roleplay, using that word roleplay, to redefine for them what roleplay is, and praising them for what they've done. Is acting role-playing? Yes. Is that what this player is doing? No. But for right now, so that all our players matter, so that they can participate in these kind of scenes, it needs to be okay that they are not able to monologue at the drop of a hat.
You don't want it to feel like school, where you have to always call on players one by one to do anything. And of course, there will be times when 1 or 2 players get to take center stage for a bit. But being mindful of who has and hasn't gotten to pipe up in a while, and bringing them back into the game, is the easiest way to make everyone feel included. When crafting the outline for your campaign, lots of DMs, like myself, try to fit in their players' backstories and goals. It can be so fulfilling for your party to see the NPCs they wrote up, or the dreams they had for their characters play out at the table. But that also takes up a lot of time, and you want to make sure that more than one player is really invested in what they're doing at any given time. So how do you balance keeping everyone's narratives moving forward without having one player take up the entire spotlight for ages? To make it simpler, you can match up your players' objectives. That's not to say they should all have the same goals, but that by following one path, they can hit on multiple characters' personal narratives. For example, when the party arrives in the capital city, instead of just having the paladin's holy order prepared, maybe there's a library where the wizard can study the artifacts they need, and the sorcerer's long-lost brother is rumored to be in town. Now all of those players are heading in the same direction, even if the focus is mainly on the paladin for this arc. And that goes for the campaign's overall story too. Connecting the player's personal quests to locations they'll be passing while pursuing the party's overall goal will make stopping in to defeat the rogue's old thieves guild feel like a more natural part of the story. You don't have to do things this way, but when the party is always going out of their way for 1 or 2 players, you risk it starting to feel like their campaign instead of the whole group's.
On the other hand, I don't really mind my players' backstories unless it happens to be convenient to what's already going on in the game. I find out what the players gravitate towards in the game, and I use that to pull them in. When they muse about a person, a place, a thing, something that they want to know more about, I make a note of it. And then maybe not the next session, because that's a little bit too on the nose. I wait like a session later, and then I introduce it. And the players are kind of inventing their own hooks out of the things that they want. Why does X work the way it does? Who was that person and what did they do? Where can I find this thing? And then my prep becomes easier because I don't have to throw darts at the dartboard hoping that I will magically land something that interests them. I already know what interests them, and I can just make the story kind of go that way because that's where they wanted to go anyway. Oh, you want to go talk to the Empress and see if you can help her put an end to the Civil War. That's a really good idea. While you're there, you're going to find out that there's a plot to kill the Empress that was started by the demon that you made a pact with at level 3. And in order to pull off this coup, the demon's going to need to use that magical artifact that you've been hunting this entire time. You're kind of using their ambition, their future stories, if you will, as the spawn for your adventures. And then the players feel like they have an impact on not just their own stories, but the world. And it's hard to beat the engagement that you get out of feeling like you can change the world. And then if you can take their backstories and link those up with their future stories, you get these kind of circular story effects that are really hard to beat and will have the players wondering, how did you even know we would do all that? How long have you been planning all this? The truth may be not long, but the players don't need to know that.
Just be careful when tying a player's backstory or personal interests directly to the overall plot you've put together. If one player is the son of the Dragon Lord, the only one who can wield all 4 pieces of plot armor to slay him, then the other party members might end up feeling like side characters. If you can tie multiple players into those big arcs, it'll be more meaningful for everyone. One of the reasons each player chooses a class in games like D&D is so everyone can have a different role to play in the party. Rogues are sneaky, wizards learn tons of spells, barbarians lift heavy things. When everyone has a unique skill set, it'll be easier for them to get involved because some tasks will just naturally be suited to one person or the other. So when you're rewarding the party with magic items, custom feats, and epic boons, be careful not to step on anyone's toes. If you give the ranger a ring that lets them turn into any animal as a bonus action, then what's the point of the druid getting wild shape? If the cleric has a boon from their god that lets them go invisible and add +5 to their stealth, the rogue might not feel as cool being the one who sneaks around all the time. Those are extreme examples, but it's worth double checking that you aren't negating any one player's gifts by boosting up another. And that goes double for party comp. In session 0, when everyone is hashing out their characters, or if a new player gets added mid-campaign, it can be tricky when 2 people end up playing the same class. You don't want one to end up feeling like they're just a worse version of the other. So encourage them to get together and figure out what niche they'll both occupy. Maybe this druid focuses on wild shape, while the other uses elemental magic. One cleric likes healing, and the other is on the front line, getting healed. Players with the same class can absolutely coexist, so long as there's an effort to keep anyone from being overshadowed. When you have a big party, by far the part of the game that can drag on the most is combat. The more people who need to act, the longer each round lasts, and the more enemies you have to pile onto the board to keep things challenging. But even with just a few players, having one person who takes forever on their turn, while everyone else is pretty quick and ends up waiting, will get really annoying really fast, and make it feel like that person is taking up way more of the spotlight. As a DM, you can do a lot to smooth out combat so that turns go faster and everyone still feels like a part of the action. The simplest way is to be quick on your own turns. Know what the monsters can do, make a few rolls, shout a demeaning one-liner at the bard, and move on. If you have time before the session, reviewing the stat blocks of any enemies you know will be antagonizing your party will keep you from fumbling around trying to figure it out when initiative gets rolled. For players who are taking a while, sometimes they just need to lock in before the ball is in their court. When you announce who's up, give an on-deck call to whoever's next, so they can start preparing for their turn too. And if a player is hemming and hawing about what to do, don't be afraid to remind them of options they've already brought up, or push for an answer after a minute of thinking. Don't be mean, but politely ask them to make up their mind, so you can all move on. And for those really extreme cases when a player is totally flustered, but the next person up is ready to go, you can always let the ready player take their turn, and then come back to your party's waffler. When combat is running smoothly and quickly, your players will be waiting around less, and feel like a bigger part of the action. As Dungeon Master, you get a lot of say in what encounters and challenges your players will stumble upon, and depending on what monsters you choose or which scenarios you go with, some players may be better suited for the task than others. But if every obstacle the party faces can be solved by the same 1 or 2 players, they're the only ones who will feel like they matter. Varying up your encounters will make sure everyone has a chance to shine. If your last battle involved lots of big brutes who wailed on your high AC players, letting them flex a little bit, maybe the next can feature spellcasters that the wizard and sorcerer can use counterspell on. If one puzzle required close investigation mixed with history and arcana checks, the next could involve lifting heavy stuff. And of course, you can design these challenges to highlight multiple players at once, making teamwork and strategy the ideal way to tackle them. And if you're adding a new player to the group, consider hitting the party with a quest that really shows off what their character can do. When one of my players had their bard leave the party, he rolled up a blood hunter rogue who was an expert detective. So his first full session with the group, I introduced a little mystery they needed to solve, letting him flex all those investigative skills. Now, was this just a happy accident that ended up working out perfectly, and I didn't even realize what I'd done until they thanked me for it after the session? That's possible, but you can bet I'll be using it in the future, and you should too. Those are the ways I try to make all my players feel special, but I'd love to hear how you keep every character relevant to the game in the comments. Huge shout out to James for helping with this one. We made a video together on his channel talking about how you can better advocate for yourself as a player and get the DM's attention. So definitely check that out next. But thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, leaving a like is always appreciated. If you want to see even more, you should subscribe to the Bards College. I make videos all about D&D, DMing, and everything in between, so stick around. But for now, good luck, and remember, crit your players.